Welcome to this March Madness preview. We're going to talk about the Midwest region. I'm here with Kiev O'Neill from the Odds Breakers. Kiev, how are you today? March Madness is here.
I am excited, very excited, anticipating, checking everything over. You got something you forgot, whether it be filling out a bracket somewhere or checking things. I mean, Survivor is so crucial. You have to be on it every single freaking morning. Just put an alarm on your phone. It's my favorite time of year, as you know, Kyle. It's just I can feel it coming. I got some plays today as well that I kind of like, and I'm just using kind of the same thoughts and angles we've used for years since you've been on hunting for winners back in your Bang the Book days, my man. And so I'm hoping that we have a great tournament and have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Man, those years were a while ago. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but shout out to our friend Adam Burke. Those were great days. I know both of us enjoyed chatting with Adam quite a bit, and he does a great job there at VSiN. Yeah. All right, let's get into the Midwest breakdown here. We'll try to do this rapid fire. We just got maybe half an hour here, and we'll break this down, see if we can get you guys on the right track here, both when it comes to betting and when it comes to brackets a little bit. So let's look at the bracket here really quick. First, we have the Midwest bracket here down in the bottom right. The first game is not terribly exciting. Kiev, we have Houston and SIU Edwardsville. I'll start on this one. Houston minus 28.5, 126, 125.5, 126.5, also available. Shop around for the best numbers for sure. Kiev, I want to bet Houston in some way, but I think I'm priced out. This is just so expensive. You bet Houston first half, it's minus 16.5, it's juiced. You bet SIU Edwardsville team total under 48.5. 48.5 is just crazy. My lean would still be Houston in some way. Houston has made a habit of beating down these weaker opponents. I think that they'll probably do the same again here, but I don't know that there's a lot of value. What do you think, Kiev?
Not a ton of value. I've learned, over the years with Kelvin Sampson teams that this dude can pull a corner on you by just putting in second, third string guys earlier than you think. I remember there was a game I was on. I don't remember if it was a tournament last year or not, but it was a pretty big game against, a team I knew they were going to blow out. But the problem is they were up by 30 some points. I was laying 22 and he put in all his second string guys, and within 3 or 4 minutes, he did it pretty early. He did it with 7 minutes left. 3 or 4 minutes in the game, they caught up to it. And we're down by 18 and I lost the bet. I think it was the tournament last year. The problem with Sampson, he's trying to rest his guys. He knows what kind of grueling tournaments coming forward here. Obviously, he knows he just won the Big 12. So I don't disagree with his reasoning at all. It's just tough break for Houston bettors. It's too far for me, especially when the total is this low, Kyle. And shout out to Bobby. Yeah, thanks for always chiming in and following us, dude. You're the best. Thanks, Jack. Auburn time. I hope so. Auburn can turn it around real quick, and then everyone's gonna be like, "No, duh." But I'm excited, and I'm staying off this Houston game, Kyle.
Agreed. All right, let's go to the next game. This is a good one. Gonzaga and Georgia. We got Gonzaga laying about 6 points. Total 150.5, 6.5 some places too on Gonzaga. Kiev, I'm going to let you start on this one. What do you think here? Gonzaga getting quite a bit of love, from quite a few people. What do you think here of Georgia and Gonzaga?
There's two names that are getting way too much love so far, and that's UConn for one and Gonzaga for two because of their names. There's no metric sites that have this game even this close. Now, even the KenPoms, if you look at it, where they overrank Gonzaga, in my opinion, as a top 10 team, only has this as a 6-point favorite, not 6.5. And the other sites have it a lot lower, Kyle. I'm glad you pulled up Haslametrics there because Georgia does have a pretty big near proximity advantage, as you see there on Kyle's screen. Eric Haslam does a great job with this, and he's such an amazing follow for NCAA tournament stuff. Georgia, they had the way harder schedule, and I know they had those mid-season woes. If you look at a lot of teams, they had mid-season woes, just kind of tired out and lost faith for a little bit. Then they finished strong. Big win against Florida, Texas, and Vanderbilt. And that Texas game was away too. Georgia has that big near proximity advantage, like I mentioned. Gonzaga doesn't have a ton of advantages, in my opinion. This is too big of a spread. I like Georgia here, and I played them at +6.5 for a few stars, and that would not shock me if one of these teams sneaks up on Houston a little bit as well. So I like Georgia with the number.
All right, I can see that definitely. I think Gonzaga is getting an awful lot of love. They did just beat St. Mary's, but St. Mary's beat them twice in the regular season. Both teams shot horribly in that last game. Really ugly, low-scoring game. I think Gonzaga, very good at pushing tempo. Georgia has a really good near proximity advantage, like you said, and second chances could be really important here. I'm going to pull up the FanDuel number here real quick. I think I like Georgia team total over 72.5 here. Kiev, I think there'll be enough points in a game like this. And if you think that Zags are a little bit overvalued, I think the defense is what will probably let them down, not the offense. So Georgia team total over 72.5, what I'm liking here in this game. So I think we're kind of aligned pretty well in this one. All right, let's go to the next.
I see that happening too. I wish I had FanDuel team totals in Arizona. For some reason, they don't allow us to bet college team totals, so I have to go get creative with that. But it's interesting to see that there because I use FanDuel every day and I never see that little slot, so it's funny to watch.
Same. So yeah, and I can't do the player props or anything. So everybody's talking about the player props, and I'm like, oh, so much for that. But anyways, let's get on to the bracket here with Clemson and McNeese State. McNeese was blown away last year when they were kind of the darling. Remember that, Kiev? Everybody was taking McNeese over Gonzaga last year. Now almost nobody taking McNeese. I don't really have a strong opinion in this one. Clemson missing their glue guy and Hunter. This is a Clemson team that I think is pretty good. They're not as good as they were last year without their big guy. Clemson, solid team. What is McNeese? They don't really play good opponents. They obviously have a big number here of wins. Their coach is talking to other schools. Does that affect them in some way? I'll pull up some of the charts here, Kiev, but give me your breakdown of this game real quick.
Didn't Will Wade go to Clemson?
Yeah.
That's what I believe, which is just going to give him more motivation. There's so many motivational angles that makes this a play for me. Not a big play, but here's another thing. McNeese might lose Will Wade, but the fact that they're going to his alma mater and they didn't hire him, I think these kids play hard, and it's not like he told them he's leaving for sure. Another thing is McNeese got blown out last year in the NCAA tournament against Gonzaga, if you remember. I feel like the second chance, they know how that felt. A lot of these guys stuck around here at McNeese, and I think they're going to want to just make a big push for this win. In my opinion, Clemson should have been the 8th seed, not Louisville. Louisville's the better team. Clemson is the next highest seed after Duke in the ACC. They're good, but I don't think they're as special as they were last year when they had the Elite 8 run. I think there was a lot of luck involved too. Clemson has a 3-point advantage and a mid-range advantage over McNeese, but either team rebounds well on defense. I see some putbacks, so that's what made me shy a little bit more from the over in the total game. Maybe a first half you look at, but McNeese has a turnover advantage. If they get some steals against Clemson, they can keep this close, possibly win this game outright. I like McNeese for those reasons.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. I think I would lean McNeese. I don't think I'm going to bet this game. You see the Haslametrics page here shared. McNeese also gets the steals and scores pretty quickly. I like that stat from Haslametrics quite a bit. Second chances, they should get some here as well. Real quickly, I'll show you what shot quality matchup looks like side by side. This is McNeese on offense. This is Clemson on offense over here to the right. Some interesting stuff there as well. Clemson does give up a lot of open threes, Kiev. McNeese is 4th in open three rate in the country. Clemson's 278th defensively. So let's watch that and see if McNeese can make some threes here in this one. I think that will be a big key to this game, whether McNeese is knocking down those shots or not.
Right.
All right, let's go Purdue and High Point. Purdue and High Point. Kiev, I wanted to bet High Point in some way, depending on who they were up against, but I don't love the way they play that drop defense. Braden Smith, a great shooter. I think Purdue's going to score a lot of points on them. I lean over the total here in this game. I think it's 153 here in this one. I don't know if I can take over 153 because both teams are pretty slow, so they're going to have to be ultra efficient on offense. As far as the side, this one's come down a good amount from the 10 or 10 and a half that it was down to about 8. To me, I think this number is pretty fair on the side at this point. I think 10 and a half was a little bit too much. FanDuel has 7.5 extra juice on Purdue, 153 and a half the total here in this one. Like I said, I do lean the over. Don't really have anything on the side here. What do you think, Kiev?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So here's the thing: Matt Painter has an amazing ATS, right? But again, why is everyone say fade Matt Painter when he gets it? Everyone just keeps remembering his big losses, right? The ones when he's just overseeded. But if you remember back in the day, Painter was actually a good plan guy. But at the same time, this is a tired team, a very tired team coming in. It's an interesting game because I almost shied away from it. I took High Point as I saw it coming down at 8.5, but I don't like it at 7.5 so much, and I'm kind of hoping it drops a little bit because I might just try to middle this with Purdue. I do have High Point as the sleeper. I have a really good number on High Point to make the Sweet 16, so I think there's a path for them to get into the Sweet 16. High Point is a very 3-point, I guess, reliable. They try to rely on the 3 a lot, but I think if McNeese can get by Clemson, High Point has a shot to be a Cinderella-ish team in the Sweet 16, and that's another discussion. Does Cinderella mean Sweet 16 or Final Four? I feel like it means Sweet 16, Kyle. But I liked it at 8.5. I don't like it as much as 7.5. I think Purdue's also being disrespected. Purdue's got better talent. Let's just face it. The total's a touch high, in my opinion, even though Purdue has an efficient offense. I feel like Purdue's defense might shut them down because Purdue, will slow it down. They only rank 297th in adjusted tempo. So that's something to look at a little bit too. High Point's great in the Big South, but are they great in the Big Ten is what we're going to find out.
Yeah, we are. There's a pretty big difference there for sure. High Point's great offensively. Their coach has been known for innovative offensive sets. It'll be interesting to see how it works against Purdue, a team that's, taller, more athletic, like you said. I think Purdue will score quite a few here. The pace is definitely the question mark. You see Purdue does slow the tempo down quite a bit. If you're going to take over 153 and a half, it hurts to have one team at 322nd in pace. So I'll probably pass on this game, to be honest with you, but let's move on. Illinois will take on Texas or Xavier. Let's just do a little bit of projecting here, Kiev. So if Texas or Xavier win, I think we've seen some odds up that Illinois would be like 2.5 or 3.5 point favorite, depending on who wins this game. I think that says quite a bit about Illinois. Illinois has been wildly inconsistent. Like, you have no idea what you're going to get from Illinois. Can't pull up a Haslametrics preview for this one because we don't know who they're going to play yet. But, this is a game where I don't trust Illinois. Illinois could make like a run to the Elite Eight. It wouldn't be totally stunning. They could also lose by 20 points in the first game, and it wouldn't be surprising. So what's your take here? If you're wanting to bet against Illinois, which team do you want to win, Texas or Xavier?
Yeah, where's this one at again? I had it written down. I'll have to recheck that. I believe I would lay it with Illinois up to
3.5.
3.5 is the probably max. I would much rather have it 2.5, like you said. I think that Xavier in Texas is going to spend a lot of energy tonight. I think Texas is being a little bit disrespected right now. They have had a much harder schedule than Xavier. So, just to let you guys know, I'm on Texas +3 tonight. I feel like it could be either of these teams, but the problem is that Illinois is a force on offense when they are not turning the ball over and when they're getting it going. You have to remember that Illinois had all kinds of problems. For one, they've been injured at different amounts of times. Two, they all got sick at different times. It's like this team went through a rougher patch than COVID in 2020, Kyle. And then all of a sudden, they figure it out. They come back. They're blowing out Michigan away by 20 points. They're beating Purdue by 8 points, where, they did have to come back, but they did beat them. They definitely had their hiccup against Maryland, which is a very understandable hiccup. But this Illinois team in the non-conference did quite well, beating teams like Missouri, taking it to the very end with Tennessee. I think they should beat this team by 5 points. So I'm going to probably lay it up to 3.5 if I can get that number.
All right. I brought up the Haslametrics page here for Illinois just real quick. Here's the reasons I can't bet Illinois. 359th in consistency, 310th away from home. I don't really know what this paper tiger factor is. I haven't really looked at that one, Kia, but 359. Okay, let's hear.
That's a great new addition from Eric that says if you are a team that's just beating the crap out of the small teams, but you cannot beat the good teams, then you are a paper tiger. What's the number on Illinois' paper tiger?
359.
359. Okay. So it seems like when they stepped up in competition, they really lost a lot of games. Well, yes, they lost to Tennessee, they lost to Alabama, they lost to Michigan State. They lost against the top teams, but this is not a top team. If you look at the mid-range, they're beating Oregon, scored 109 points. And I have to think of Xavier, Texas as mid-range. They smoke UCLA. They smoke, the rest of the Big Ten. They just cannot step up against the big team. So it's a perfect example of a paper tiger champion is Illinois. So right now you want to lay against – this means you want to lay the points with Illinois against the bad teams, but don't take them as a dog when they play a really good team, according to that stat itself.
All right. I like the new stat there. Eric does a great job with all the stats there. I also think that it's if you're not already checking out Haslametrics, it's really good to have a quick handicap with those previews for the game. So if you don't have too much time to look through the games, really good way to look at the team side by side there very quickly. All right. Let's go on to the next game. We've got Kentucky and Troy here. Kentucky laying about 10.5 or 11 points with a total in the 152.5 region. Kiev, the bet I made on Kentucky was Kentucky to reach the Sweet 16 plus 120. I got that one at Caesars there yesterday. I think this is kind of a buy low on Kentucky after they were just blasted by Alabama in their last game. Butler should be back here. Makes a big difference. I don't think Troy is a bad first matchup. And then the second game, who would they be playing? Let's see. It was, Illinois. Again, I just said I don't really like Illinois. I do think Kentucky has the superior athleticism to Illinois, and they've been more consistent at least. So I like Kentucky's chances there. And I think, after they've been upset early in the bracket in the past, they should be focused here in this one early on. Now, do I want to lay the points here with Kentucky against Troy? I don't know. I think 11's about fair. What's your take here, Kiev?
I lean Kentucky. That's what I wrote down for this. I have notes in every single game. A lot of people are looking at Troy, and I watched Troy win their Sun Belt. It was a great. They did a great job, but you have to understand that this Troy team only ranks 222nd in effective field goal percentage, while Kentucky ranks 20th. Kentucky can really pile it on, and there's a massive talent advantage here when you're going against Kentucky. I actually kind of came into this game, Kyle, a day or two ago thinking I was going to bet Troy, but kind of switched. Do you really want to go against Lamont Butler, who has all this tournament experience from his San Diego State days, the first game of the tournament? Heck no. He's going to be leading your locker room and getting them hyped up. As a matter of fact, this Kentucky might be a good first half bet too. Usually I like to look at the dog in the first half, but I think Kentucky comes out strong. And would you say it's maybe a little bit of an upgrade in that coach with Pope over Calipari, Kyle?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think so. I like Pope too. I think he's done a good job with them. Seems like a likable guy. It's kind of made me a Kentucky fan. Ohio State's obviously my first. They're nowhere to be seen here in the tournament, but I do like Kentucky pretty well. I think Troy will have a hard time keeping up with Kentucky. Kentucky's going to score quite a few points here. Troy not that adept at being efficient on offense, so I think I lean Kentucky there in that one.
Yeah, I think
You,
Troy's gonna be a public dog as well. So you might even get a
yeah,
better number weighting on this a little bit.
yeah, agreed. All right, UCLA and Utah State. All right, Kiev. Let's start with the elephant in the room. This is the Mountain West. The Mountain West is now 13-34 against the spread in the last 47 in the first round. I am counting last night, round of 64, first four, whatever it may be, but they're also 26-54, I believe it is, in the last 80 against the spread. So, Kiev, I'm going to put it to you first. Do you have any inkling of wanting to bet Utah State plus the points here? What do you think of this game?
Hell no. This trend is money. I buy into that trend. We've been doing it a few years now. It is money, but does that mean I want to lay 5.5 with UCLA? Not much, not really either. I feel like UCLA has been coached well. The coach hyped him up mid-season when he complained about them traveling, blah, blah, blah. This is at Rupp Arena. You're not going to get really any home court advantage, but I feel like both of these teams are terrible away from home. All Mountain West teams are really bad, Kyle, away from home. I'd like you to pull up Hasla if you can. Look at this matchup here, but it's a very untrustable matchup. I think UCLA wins. I'm not laying 5.5. I think UCLA could be a good money line parlay because you're looking at like a minus 260, minus 270 type thing. If you pair that with another 4.5 point favorite that you don't want to completely lay, maybe Gonzaga if you think they're going to win but not cover, or a BYU even, they'll get you plus money, or any of those money line ones that kind of stick out. St. Mary's, you not want to lay it with St. Mary's, but you want to kind of have a little money on them. You're going to get plus money on that kind of a parlay. Marquette's a candidate as well. So this is probably my second least confident game under Kansas, Arkansas, Kyle. So the truth is, I wish I had more for you, but it wouldn't shock me if there was a cover by Utah State. But like I said, there's no way in heck that I'm betting them.
Yeah, it's I think it's too strong of a trend, and they've not been getting beaten by small margins consistently. I mean, last night was an example of that. We've seen many examples of that. In fact, if you take out San Diego State, who's actually done okay against the spread, the Mountain West has done awful against the spread. So it's under 30% if you get rid of San Diego State. I think in this one, Kiev, the offenses have a decent amount of advantages. I think UCLA can do a pretty good job against the zone of Utah State. Utah State likes to play relatively quickly on offense. I lean to the over in this game. I think that'd be my favorite bet. I kind of want to bet against both of these teams. And since they're playing each other, I don't think I can bet the spread here. Yeah. But I know I'm definitely not taking Utah State. So I agree with
why
you.
Did they do this? Why do they give us Kansas versus Arkansas, two teams who are itching to fade in the tournament? Right. They give us this one too. It's like, come on, guys, help us out here. It's us against the books, not us against you, committee.
Right, exactly. All right, the last game here, and then let's project the bracket just a little bit here at the end to Kiev, but we'll wrap here in about 5 minutes. Tennessee and Wofford. There's nothing in this game that interests me about betting it. So Kiev, if you have anything you like, Tennessee should win easily. The pace will be pretty slow. I think that's kind of accounted for in the total. Do you like anything here?
I actually do, Kyle. This is going against what I normally do, but
okay.
I'm going to give this out as what was a premium play. I laid the points with Tennessee minus 18.5. And even though it's 132.5 total, I think that it's still going to be a good play. I believe that Wofford is the team, if there's a prop out there to bet the team that scores the lowest points during the NCAA tournament, I would possibly bet Wofford or the team playing Houston. Tennessee lost their SEC championship. I know it was on Sunday, but it was in the morning. They kind of just mailed it in a little bit in the second half. They weren't hitting their shots. But if you look at Tennessee's history, they're going to feel like they're gypped of being a 1 seed, especially when a team became, a very high seed when they just beat Alabama. Tennessee had a great run. Auburn, that's it. They just beat Auburn. and then Auburn's a higher seed, probably a little bit of chip on their shoulder. But if you look at what Tennessee did in the non-conference, they're beating teams like Louisville by 22 points. They're beating teams like Montana, who's in the tournament, by 40 points ish. They just have been destroying some of those little children of the poor. And if you look at what Wofford's done in the non-con, I like to look at this, and Eric Haslam put out a great stat of how did you do against top 100 teams, seeds 12 through 16, I think he did. Well, Wofford was one of the worst. They got beat by Duke by 51 points. I mean, that's despicable, man. That's the only top 100 team they played, minus Lipscomb, where they lost by 9 points. I think that Tennessee's just going to name their score. I feel like Tennessee's like the 1 seed with the 28-point spread here, and they're going to easily cover 18.5, and I think they can maybe even do it by a half. So I don't see Wofford coming back here. You know a lot about Wofford, being that you bet the SoCon, but the truth is that this should be a blowout.
Well, SoCon in general wasn't great this year, and Wofford wasn't one of the best teams throughout the regular season, so I don't blame you there. I don't like Rick Barnes in the tournament, but Rick Barnes in the tournament has actually done okay against these poorly seeded teams, laying the big points. What he hasn't done good is when the spread is, within 5 points either direction, when it's supposed to be a close game. That's when they've not covered spreads at all. So later in the tournament, I want to bet against Rick Barnes right here. I think you make a good case. I could see Tennessee blowing them away. If you like Wofford to be the lowest scoring, maybe you also like some kind of alt spread or something here, because I could see this getting away from Wofford here in this one.
Can I say one more ththing about it? Mm-hmm. Tennessee is the number 1 team in all of college basketball in defending a 3 and ranking number 1 on Haslam, 0.8% allowed. Wofford shoots almost the top 23 in the amount of threes. So 47.7% of their shots are threes. That's just going to really push on the fact that they're not making the most common shot they're shooting against an amazing Tennessee team, which should just eat them up for breakfast.
Yeah, agree. All right, let's in 2 minutes here, Kiev, let's go look at, Houston plays Gonzaga, let's say, in the second round. Houston probably favored by 5.5 points, somewhere in that range. Do you like Gonzaga or Georgia plus the points against Houston? Is that what you were saying earlier?
It just depends. I would say I need 7.5. I want a full 3 possessions here for the most part. Not 3 3-pointers, but 2 3-pointers and a 2, right? I'd like to get 8 points here if I was going to bet against Houston. I think Houston's still going to be strong here, remembering the last couple of years where they were seeded high and lost. They are better, and they suffocate you. Now, I wish Jamal Shed was there. I'd bet them to win it all. Even against Florida and Duke, I would this year. But you can say the same things for a lot of teams, right? I don't want 6.5, Kyle.
Okay. Let's go to the bottom of the bracket. Okay. What do you think of a Kentucky-Tennessee matchup if those two meet up?
So Tennessee, Rick, this is where your Rick Barnes type thing fails, because as you mentioned, this is probably going to be a 5 or 6 point spread at the most. It's probably even going to be 3 to 5, actually, if you really look at what the metrics are. There's no way I would bet Tennessee. I feel like Lamont Butler's going to keep the game close no matter what. I would definitely lean Kentucky, anything 3 or above, and I think you'll get 3. So that's my opinion. Tennessee did play Kentucky and lost at home earlier this season. So this is a buy on Kentucky if that's the matchup.
Okay. Who do you have coming out of this bracket, Kiev?
Kyle, I hate to say it, but I bet a lot. I agree with Chalk this year, and I feel dirty for it. But Auburn just got the perfect setup for them against a beat-up Iowa State team, against a Fugazi Michigan State team, against an inconsistent Michigan at number 5. It's just too well of a setup for them. Texas A&M is just a bad 4 seed. I hate to say it, but I have all number 1s in the Final Four for the first time in my life, Kyle, filling out a bracket. Maybe since I was 12 years old or something. But I have Houston coming out, and I have them beating Illinois. I think maybe Kentucky gets by Tennessee, and then all of a sudden Illinois happens, right? So, I think that Houston's going to beat whoever comes out of that, and I think it's going to be Illinois and the Elite Eight. So I kind of like that.
Okay. I have to be honest, Kiev. I haven't filled out many brackets yet. I got to get on that tonight. My son's been all about filling out the brackets more than I have so far. You know how that can go. But I think the ones have really good setups too. And I hate saying that because I don't like being the chalk guy, but I don't know which one of them is going to get knocked out early. I think they have good setups. So I think there'll be at least 3 number 1 seeds in the final 4. We will see. But Kiev, thanks for breaking down the Midwest region here with me today. Let people know where they can find your work.
At the Odds Breakers, we're doing a bracket quadrant breakdown on most of our posts, so check it out. But we also have the contest out there that Kyle's going to get in free $500 we're giving away. Just fill it out, CBS Sports. You can autofill and change a few if you want. It's just so quick you can do it. Might as well, free money, right? That's what some people do. I'm the kind of guy that stands by one of my brackets, and then I have the shotgun approach when it comes to the others. So if I ever win or something in that, I do mention it's not my main bracket, but it was a scenario I was thinking of. I think that's fair. And I think if you just want to fill out one bracket, you're taking away some fun. But the Survivor is a lot of fun. I pushed last year when NC State beat Duke with about 8 other guys in a pretty big Survivor. So we split a bunch of money. I think we all got about 1,000 piece or something. It was like 10 grand in there. Yeah, I think it was a $50 buy-in for that one. And so, Survivor is a ton of fun. And, if you have good rules, we have one at Splash Sports where in case everyone goes out again, that pushes actually till the end until somebody wins. And so that's a nice way of doing it. So we have a lot of contests, and in about an hour and a half, I'll be back on right on YouTube or Twitter with Will Hill talking some more hoops. It's endless today. So Kyle, thanks again, man, for doing this. I love it when you do it, and you're the greatest. I appreciate it.
I don't deserve that, but I appreciate the kind words. And check out Kiev's show that he's going to do later today with Will. Check out the Odds Breakers in general. If you don't fill out a bracket there at the Odds Breakers bracket, you're costing yourself. It's a free bracket, some nice prizes there. Definitely check that out. You can go to huntersportspicks.com for all my plays. I discounted the March Madness package, 38-18, last 56 college basketball plays. Got an NIT play up for tonight, and then adding still some more NCAA tournament plays. Thanks for joining me, Kiev. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you back again next time. Have a great week.
On Wisconsin.